South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford returned to work today, and by work I do not mean those grueling missions to Argentina, during which he swapped trade negotiation points. Our third story tonight, it's not about sex anymore. Okay, it's still about sex, but the lies are now piling up. And P.S., we have new questions about money and public corruption. Let's start with lies. All right, lies about sex. We already knew the Appalachian lie and the driving alone lie. Sanford's wife now tells the AP she found a letter from Sanford to his mistress in January, confronted him, and he agreed to stop the affair. Lie. When she warned him this month not to visit his mistress, he said he needed time alone to write. Lie. In a statement yesterday, he said the purpose of his trip to Argentina last year was, quote, entirely professional and appropriate. Lie. And not just because of the sex. A spokesman says the trip was the State Commerce Department's idea. The Brazil leg, sure, but the legs in Argentina, entirely professional? The State Commerce Secretary invited Sanford on a personal side trip to Argentina, bird hunting, and Sanford then asked Commerce to arrange economic meetings there. The New York Times reporting a much lighter itinerary in Brazil, including a self-guided tour and dinner on your own. And were even his trade talks appropriate? McClatchy reports the official policy of the U.S. government was not to have trade talks with Argentina, which had defaulted on its debt, which might explain why Sanford met with officials like Daniel Scioli, whose administration had split with Washington in favor of Cuba and Venezuela. Sanford's office unable to provide a single achievement of his in Argentina, except, okay, the achievements about sex. Today he apologized to his cabinet, talking about humility and modestly comparing himself to King David.
What I find interesting is the story of David and the way in which he fell mightily, fell in very, very significant ways, but then picked up the pieces and built from there. And it really began with, first of all, a larger quest that I think are well expressed in the book of Psalms on the notion of humility. Humility toward others, humility in one's own spirit. And I guess the larger context that Scott's alluding to in terms of me wanting to address you all is that the epicenter of the administrative team really rests with the cabinet. And inasmuch as I had not yet had a chance to apologize to you all personally, I wanted to do so.
About King Sanford, I think he's gone, it's over, quote the state Senate leader in the New York Times. Sanford has to decide whether he can be effective in office, the House Speaker. Sanford should resign, one of the state's two national committee men. One state senator calls for an investigation. Another asks whether failing to transfer power last week broke the law by itself. And those were just the Republicans. The upcoming Value Voters Summit no longer listing him as an invited speaker. In fact, only the National Party leader has an excuse for Sanford, worthy of the annals of time travel fiction. And Governor Sanford, it turns out, was driven over the edge by President Obama.
This is almost like, I don't give a damn. Country's going to hell in a handbasket. I just want out of here. He had just tried to fight the stimulus money coming to South Carolina. He didn't want any part of it. He lost the battle. He said, what the hell? I mean, the federal government's taken over. What the hell? I want to enjoy life. The point is, there are a lot of people whose spirit is just, they're fed up, saying, the hell with it. I don't even want to fight this anymore. It's just because I just want to get away from it.
Well, sure. Infidelity, dishonesty, malfeasance, and abandonment of office that dates back to like last June, and it was Obama's fault. I've got to say, given the impediments facing him, I didn't think somebody like Rush Limbaugh could jump the shark that cleanly and athletically, but he just did. But back to Governor Sanford, and back with us tonight, MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter, also senior editor, of course, at Newsweek magazine. Thanks for your time tonight, John.
Hi, Keith.
How is this now different from just, I cheated on my wife?
Well, I don't actually think it is all that much different. Look, he shouldn't have gone to Argentina on the state's dime. He's repaying the money. He's political toast. He's probably going to have to resign. But I got to say, I got a little sympathy for him. I mean, if I didn't get all that upset about Bill Clinton lying about sex, I'm not going to get all that upset about this guy lying about sex. And as it happens, I know him a little bit. He is not a bad guy. He's not a mean, nasty conservative. He's not a Rush Limbaugh in his affect and the way he talks to people. And, you know, he was crazy for love. It happens.
I'll buy that, and I said that the other night. It's like, well, we all hope we have the sort of feelings that he expressed and were expressed to him in those emails, but you should, if you're going to act on them, and they are in conflict with, say, your marriage and your job, resolve the marriage and the job, and then, go to Argentina.
Totally
right?
agree.
Just go. I mean, who would at least not think about doing
should have,
it?
look, he can't run for re-election. His political career is over anyway. He should have just resigned and then, proceeded to do his thing.
But you mentioned Bill Clinton. Lost in the equation of the last few days has been the role of then Congressman Sanford as one of the chief moralizers in the Bill Clinton impeachment, a man who was so put out by this in one way or the other that he was actually one of the few who acted on the wag the dog theory, who thought that the bombing of Iraq, the missions that Clinton ordered in 1998, were there to deflect publicity from his own dawdling there, correct?
I even did a piece on MSNBC about the wag the dog phenomenon. At the time, there was a school of thought in the Republican Party that Clinton was literally going to war to distract attention. So he's part of the hypocrisy caucus, pretty big one now on the Republican side of the aisle. Obviously, there are Democrats who get into sex scandals too, but they generally don't have the half-gainer with the hypocrisy twist as part of the story. Sanford's in that camp. You would think that as this happens over and over again, you'd get a greater degree of humility when it comes to pointing fingers from the conservatives, but they don't really seem to learn much from these episodes, or what they do learn, as we saw from Rush Limbaugh, is kind of laughable.
Yes, it is time travel. Obama caused all this to happen a year before he was elected. It's fabulous in its own way. Last point here, the headline in the Washington Times yesterday, social conservatives fall from moral high ground. One of the Clinton impeachment managers said to the Wall Street Journal that the party should lose the stinking rot of self-righteousness. Is there one positive in this? Is it possible that we're going to stop being hit over the head with moralizers from the right on these points?
No, I don't think they'll ever go away. I wish I could tell you that would happen. But what it does do, it's positive for Barack Obama, because Sanford, attractive candidate, smart, would have been a better candidate than former lobbyist Haley Barbour, who's now getting the big push as the Republican nominee in 2012.
Yikes.
Better candidate than Mitt Romney, who everybody turns off the TV when he comes on. So once again, in the same way as when he was running for the U.S. Senate, sex scandals on the other side of the aisle have helped Barack Obama.
Amazing. Jonathan Alter of Newsweek and MSNBC, thanks for coming in and disagreeing with me so roundly, and have a great weekend.
You too, Keith.
Thanks, John.